And welcome back to Carver Arena in downtown Peoria. Sesser-Valier to take on Salt Fork for the 1A state championship game coming up here on the IHSA TV network. I'm Lee Hall along with Roger Lowe, and we had a little delay behind us. They're working on the baskets here, so they haven't even started. Now they've just started the clock, so the game will be delayed just a little bit. So you never know what's going to happen in high school basketball, do you?
You just got to roll the punches, I guess, Lee.
All right, we've got Sesser-Valier coming up against Salt Fork, and we'll take a look at these communities and see where they hail from here in our great state of Illinois. Salt Fork, actually we'll begin with Sesser-Valier. If you're familiar with the southern part of the state, you know Sesser-Valier is not far from I-57 and Mount Vernon down in the southern part of the state, about a half hour or so from Carbondale, where Southern Illinois University is located. Catlin, Salt Fork, they are a co-op pretty close to the Indiana border, a little bit east of Danville. It's a co-op between Catlin and Seidel, Jamaica. It's a co-op that's been around since the 95-96 season. As we take a look at Google Earth and show you where these two teams are located. So it's the southern half of the state being represented here. Sesser-Valier, their population in Sesser, 2121. Which reminds me of a song.
That's right.
Franklin County, the enrollment of 254 in the Black Diamond Conference. For Catlin, half of the basketball co-op, their population is 2110. Vermilion County, the enrollment just 153 in the Vermilion Valley Conference. And a couple of schools, I believe they're both first-timers, are they not?
I believe that's right.
Yeah.
I know Catlin's never been here before, and I think you're right. Sesser-Valier's never been here either.
And that's, you know, people debate things like we just talked about third-place games. Should they play that? Should we have 4 classes? 1A is maybe the class where the 4A thing comes into play most. At least it seems like, where the 1A teams that have never had a chance to get out of a regional because they're small, you know, enrollment of 153, it's tough against the bigger competition. We had 3 out of the 4 teams that have never been here before.
Right, I couldn't agree with you more, Lee, because the 3A schools can compete with the 4A schools. So I think 3A schools could get to the 4A tournament, but the 1A schools would have trouble competing with the great 2A schools. And it's just a great opportunity for these kids to play on statewide television in front of 11,000 people at the Civic Center.
Yeah, in fact, Madison, now that memory serves, Madison, the only team of the 4 1A class teams that has ever been here, been to state before, and of course that was back in the Class A years back in 1981. Let's take a look at the streaking. Ray Stevens made it a hit back in the 70s, so yes, they call them the Streaks. Well, not really. They're Sesser-Valier Red Devils. They've won 11 of their last 12. Their last defeat coming to Waltonville back in February. Chip Basso, the first-year head coach, they had some tough times getting here, but they are here. As for Salt Fork, well, they're on a 26-game win streak. Their only defeat of the year to Champaign St. Thomas More came in last calendar year, 74-63. So a couple of teams riding different crests of the wave to get here, Roger Lowe. As we talk about Salt Fork, they have been on a roll for much of this season coming in here.
They got that 1-2 punch of Leonard and Anderson, and that, you know, both just juniors, but big, strong bodies. But the guy I really fell in love with yesterday was Josh Chandler, a tremendous defensive player. He's the kind of player that I would love to coach, diving over on loose balls, and I think he's going to be a big key to this ball game.
Sesser-Valier, you talked about it yesterday. They weren't supposed to make it out of their regional, and yet here they are playing for a state championship. Let's look now at some of the highs and lows for these teams coming in. 83 points for Sesser-Valier. They're high not that long ago against Waltonville. In fact, that was a team that had beaten them earlier in the year, Roger. That tells you something about this basketball team, how they've improved. They lost to Waltonville earlier in the year and then beat them by, I believe it was 23 points in state action, and then they're low to Ziegler-Royalton back in December. Salt Fork, they've hit 84 2 times. They're an explosive team. They're low coming against Bismarck-Henning earlier in February, just 44 points. So that's, you know, that's kind of the tail of the tape. Salt Fork, their highs and lows weren't very, didn't hurt them at all. They won both of those games where they had the highs and lows. For Sesser-Valier, it's been a different tale. They lost 4 in a row. I believe they went 4-8 between early in January and early in February. Chip Basso, the first-year head coach, it's been a struggle at times for this team, yet here they are. It just tells you, how teams can improve, and, you can't believe the clippings. You can't believe the prognosticators. It's all about going out there and getting it done on the basketball floor.
And, your point's well taken, because that team could have probably folded up, but Chip Basso had 5 seniors out there that did not want to go out with a losing record. And I just want to say that Danny Kirk was the head basketball coach of this team last year and retired on his own. And Danny Kirk has a lot to do with the success of this team. He built this team up in 3 years. Chip Basso has carried on the great tradition. But you want to always say something nice about the coach that left him a full cupboard.
Absolutely. So it's number 1, the Storm, taking on Sesser-Valier as we get ready to crown a 1A champion here this afternoon. We're back in Peoria after this local timeout. They're here from Sesser-Valier, and they're ready to take on the number 1 team in the state. They're feeling their groove there, Roger Lowe, in the stands. They're getting ready. A very rambunctious crowd from Sesser-Valier. Really an unheralded team ready to take on the number 1 team in the state. Let's talk about number 1 first. You talked about your buddy Josh Chandler, Joel Leonard, such a good presence inside. The big guy, he's left-handed, he's physical. He really gets the job done for him.
He really does. Anderson's a big compliment to him as well. But the other 2 guys that we did not mention are great role players for him. They wouldn't be there without those 2 guys.
All right, Joe Pratt and Nathan Fathour. All, upperclassmen, couple seniors, 3 juniors in their starting lineup. For Sesser-Valier, Justin Matty was really spectacular yesterday against Madison. And, you look at him, he's not real big, he's not real broad, but boy, he just gets the job done inside.
I think if you're a young player in the state, an 8th grader, 7th grader that wants to work on inside moves, Justin Matty would be a good role model, because he doesn't have great quickness, doesn't have great leaping ability, but's always able to find his way around the basket, and good footwork down there.
And TJ Eubanks from the outside was spectacular too. His 3-point shooting helped open it up a little bit inside yesterday for Sesser-Valier.
And he almost looks like a manager when he's coming out there, kind of a little heavy guy, but I tell you what, there's always room for shooters. And his cousin, Dane Eubanks, is kind of the Josh Chandler of the Sesser-Valier team, a very, very intense player. Sesser-Valier playing 5 seniors lead. The future's now for this team.
What do you see? What do you see as a key to this game, very quickly?
Well, I just think the Sesser-Valier's got to find some other scores besides Matty. I think that the Salt Fork team can maybe take him out of the ballgame with their strength and their physicality. So there's going to have to be some guys that come in and step up and score some points for Sesser-Valier.
A 1A state title on the line. Will it be number 1 Salt Fork laying claim to that number 1 championship in their history? We will find out. Sesser-Valier and Salt Fork next after this on the IHSA TV network.
Sesser-Valier used a dominating performance to reach their first ever championship game in any IHSA Sport Friday. Salt Fork Co-op used their first state finals trip to earn their right to play in this afternoon's Class 1A championship game. The Red Devils and the Storm next.
It's a rainy spring day in central Illinois, and there is a storm brewing inside as well. The Salt Fork Storm, number 1 in the state, try to lay claim to the state championship and say, hey, we're number 1 when it counts at the end of the season. The Salt Fork Co-op coming in here today 32-1 as they play for their first ever possible state championship. Hello and welcome to Carver Arena in downtown Peoria. I'm Lee Hall. Thanks for joining us today on the IHSA TV network. Actually, 2 state finals rookies here today. Sesser-Valier coming in after knocking off Madison yesterday. They look to knock off number 1 here today against Salt Fork. Here for the call of our 1A state championship game, former U High coach Cal Hubbard and our good friend Kurt Pegler. Gentlemen, take it away.
Thank you, Lee. Indeed, it is state championship Saturday here in Peoria. Top-ranked Salt Fork from the east central side of the state against Sesser-Valier, a team from the southern side of the state that many teams, Cal, didn't even think would make it through the regionals. You have coached in this championship game. You have won this championship game before. What do you think it's like for these 2 schools that have never been here playing for the state title?
I think they're trying to just think about basketball and what they have to do to win this game. If you get caught up in the moment, you won't be successful.
Let's talk about how these two teams made their way to this afternoon's state championship game. We'll start with Sesser-Valier, 26-9, the Red Devils. They beat Carrier Mills and Meridian for the El Dorado sectional title, took out Woodlawn in overtime for the super sectional at Salem, and then beat Madison impressively here in the state semifinals yesterday. Salt Fork comes in, ranked number 1 in the state, 32-1. Beating Iroquois West and Macon Meridian, last year's state champ, in the Westville sectional, then beat Peoria Heights in the super sectional at Illinois State on Tuesday before beating Eastland in the state semifinals here yesterday. TJ Eubanks, one of the key players for today's game. He was knocking down threes left and right for Sesser-Valier. He'll have to be a factor today.
TJ Eubanks had a good game yesterday with 15 points and 7 rebounds, but he allowed Maddie to open up inside because he stretched the defense.
Joel Leonard might be the main horse for Salt Fork, but he's got a pretty darn good running mate, and that man's Ryan Anderson.
Ryan Anderson had a big game yesterday, and he had the same effect as Eubanks in stretching the defense, and he wanted the ball in his hand at crucial times and made some big baskets yesterday when they were desperately needed.
All right, let's break down this state championship game for our viewers. Let's talk about the keys to the game for the Red Devils of Sesser-Valier. What has to happen for them?
They're going to have to defend the post and keep Lerner under control. They're going to have an inside-outside combination. They're not going to have to just be able to depend on Maddie. And they're also going to have to be rebounders. They're going to have to go to the boards hard.
How about for Salt Fork, for the top-ranked team in the state to walk away with the big trophy? What has to happen?
Well, a lot of things are similar, but they're going to have to be patient on the offensive end, make more than one pass for shots. They're going to have to enter the ball in the post and make them be honored, and they're going to have to really play good man-to-man defense like they're known for.
A couple of teams that have never before played at state find themselves playing for the state championship. Salt Fork, the Storm, the Red Devils of Sesser-Valier. We're all set. Let's meet the players, get the starting lineups and the opening tip, and for that we go to our public address announcer, Paul Herzog.
Good afternoon, basketball fans. On behalf of the Illinois High School Association and the City of Peoria, welcome to the home of America's original March Madness. Here in the Peoria Civic Center, we'll see the championship game of 1A for 2010, featuring the Sesser-Valier Red Devils, 26-9, and the Catlin Salt Fork Storm, a record of 32-1. And now to honor America. Please stand, remove your caps, and pause for a moment of silence to remember the men and women of the armed forces serving us here and around the world, away from their families, protecting our freedom. Thank you as we thank them. Now please address the flag with your hand over your heart as Chris Holman, a senior at the High School of St. Thomas More in Champaign, sings the Star-Spangled Banner.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Now, let's meet the starting lineups for this championship contest. At a forward, for Valier, a 6'4" senior, 15, Kendall Gibson. At a forward for Salt Fork, a 6'5" junior, 3, Joel Lerner. At a forward for the Red Devils, a 6'2" senior, 25, TJ Eubanks. At a forward for the Storm, a 6'2" junior, 4, Ryan Anderson. At center for Valier, a 6'5" senior, 30, Justin Maddie. One of 3 guards for Salt Fork, a 5'10" junior, 15, Nathan Fathour. At a guard for the Red Devils, a 6'1" senior, 3, Dane Eubanks. At a guard for the Storm, a 5'10" senior, 22, Josh Chandler. At a guard for Valier, a 6-foot senior, 11, Miles Tinsley. At a guard for Salt Fork, a 5'11" senior, 23, Joe Pratt. Head coach in his first year at Valier, Chip Basso, a record of 26-9, assisted by Shane Garner, Brian Lahr, and Nick Lahr. Head coach for 3 years at Salt Fork, a record of 83-13, Aaron Hurd, assisted by Brian Plotner and Lou Hinkle. As the players and coaches wish each other good luck at half court, the IHSA Board of Directors and member schools expect and promote good sportsmanship from the athletes, the coaches, students, parents, and spectators. We request your cooperation by supporting the participants and the officials in a positive manner. Do what's right. No other state in America can claim the rich history and tradition that's been generated by March Madness in Illinois. It's America's original March Madness. Direct your attention to the arena floor and meet the officials for this game. The referee from Chatham, Bob Engel. From Chatham, John McAvoy Jr. And from Springfield, Doug Strong. Presenting the game ball is City of Peoria Mayor Jim Ardis, one of the sponsors of the March Madness Experience Next Door. We thank the City of Peoria for its contribution to the greatest high school single event in the land.
All right, let's take a look at those starting fives, which will vie for the state championship here at Class A boys basketball. We talk about the all-state players, Joel Lerner for Salt Fork and Justin Maddie for Sesser-Valier. We'll keep our eyes on them, but they have some very good running mates. The Eubanks boys are cousins, Dane and TJ, in that Red Devils lineup. Salt Fork 32-1, Sesser-Valier 26-9. The opening tap is controlled by Sesser-Valier. Game on for the state championship here from Peoria. Kurt Pegler, Cal Hubbard, Lee Hall, our IHSA Television Network crew. And in the opening seconds, it's Dane Eubanks driving and scoring, and he has dribble penetration down pat.
He does. He's very quick to the basket, and he has a knack for being able to finish. But to be able to dribble all the way to the basket, I'm sure Salt Fork's not too happy about it.
Salt Fork, the #1 ranked team in the final Class A boys basketball poll. White jerseys, black trim, black numbers across the front. It's the maroon jerseys with white trim for Sesser-Valier.
Both teams are playing help side man-to-man defense, which is what they're known for.
This is Anderson's three is no good, and it's over the backboard and out of bounds. He knocked down a couple of critical threes yesterday from about that same spot on the floor.
He was heavily guarded, and I think both Eubanks and Anderson will draw a lot of pressure on the perimeter.
Chip Basso in his first year as head coach, 26 wins, 9 losses. He purposely upgraded his schedule to get his team through the rigors of the regular season and have them prepared for tournament time, and they have been prepared, and they're scoring off the glass. This Kendall Gibson, he's the defensive stopper, so when you get points out of him, that's a bonus. He averages 8 points a game.
You just can't allow dribble penetration to the rim. It doesn't matter what kind of defense you play, you cannot allow dribble penetration to the rim, and that's happened the first 2 possessions.
Here's Lerner. His three is no good.
Both teams are both feeling themselves out.
This is Dane Eubanks. Again, it's his cousin TJ. That's the 3-point shooting threat for the Red Devils. Here's Maddie working baseline, flipped it up, couldn't get it. Ball is loose and it's controlled by Josh Chandler.
But he got to the rim again. That's three possessions in a row to the rim.
Red Devils have had good looks, you're right, Cal, on each of their first 3 possessions. Nice move on the baseline, working and scoring is Nathan Fathour. He was in foul trouble all day yesterday. It kind of hampered his ability to make an aggressive play like that.
I really think that Salt Fork is a different team when Fathour's on the floor. He's just got a really good nose for what needs to happen out there.
Maddie's turnaround's no good. It's cleared by Lerner. You're right. When Fathour picked up his 3rd foul in the 2nd period yesterday, he had to take a seat. Now we've got a blocking foul against Sesser-Valier. Aaron Hurd, 3rd-year coach at Salt Fork, 83 wins, 13 losses, has hit school in its first state championship game, first trip to state period. The co-op there between Seidel and Catlin is just 15 years old. 2 separate school districts, but they share sports teams and facilities.
Coach Hurd wants the ball to move. It's being delayed too much. People are standing and watching, not moving the body, not moving the ball. And one of the strengths of Salt Fork is their ball movement and their passing.
This is Pratt with it. We've played 3 minutes in this state championship game. No shot clock in high school basketball, so these teams can take as much time as they want with the ball.
Well, Sesser-Valier is doing a really good job of staying between the ball and the basket and help side. They're not giving up much dribble penetration, and didn't that time. Did a nice job of shutting out the baseline.
Tough shot by Pratt. Red Devils come away with it. This is Eubanks quickly up the floor. He's stripped from behind. Chandler got his hand on it, and a steal now.
You just don't want to dribble between 2 players. It's always best to pull it back. That's the first turnover.
And now a reach-in foul against Sesser-Valier.
Coaches always want their players to play defense with their feet and not their hands, but it's hard to teach unless you cut their arms off.
Foul on Miles Tinsley of the Red Devils. Will step aside. 4-2. SV with the early lead on the IHSA television network.
He's pretty special. He's had a great career at Sesser-Valier. He's a 4-year starter for us, so he's had a lot of experience. He's played in a lot of big basketball games. He's got such a nice soft touch around the basket, and he's such a key component in what we do. Okay.
6'5", 210-pound senior. He's had a lot of success, obviously, in an all-state career.
Yes, during that timeout, Coach Hurd was really imploring his players to stop the ball in the lane, and he might have changed defenses. I couldn't really tell. I don't know his hand signals, but he brought
off the bench and in the game. Sorry, Coach, is David Keenan scoring.
Keenan does a really good job, and he brought a second post player in that's hard to defend.
So now he's got a big line out there with Anderson, Lerner, and Keenan. Here's Eubanks. His first 3 of the game is missed.
Much better defensive effort that time on Salt Fork's basis.
Joe Lerner in traffic. Good defense that time by Sesser-Valier.
Good job of holding his place.
This is Tinsley. He's cut off. Trailing the play is Kendall Gibson. They're going to go inside to Maddie. Tough shot again. Good D that time by Keenan. Held his ground.
That's the first time I've seen Maddie not actually get squared up to the basket. He just kind of forced a shot and didn't have his footwork like he likes to. I'm sure he'll get it straightened out.
Here's Keenan now.
Good inside, outside. A real good combination.
Fathour an open look, but he couldn't take advantage of it. We're probably not going to see a whole lot of zone today. I would imagine we're going to see a lot of man-to-man between these 2 squads, huh?
Both coaches believe in it, but sometimes game situations dictate you have to change, especially with foul trouble and other things. I've always felt the zone could be a pretty effective weapon. But I think both of these teams are very good man-to-man teams.
Here's Maddie from the left side, blocked by Keenan. He's really given his team a nice lift off the bench.
Yes, he does. He brings another big body in. It gives really difficult matchup problems for most teams.
Just a sophomore, getting valuable experience, obviously, at the state level here. This is Anderson, guarded by Eubanks. A couple of three-point threats there. Diving down the lane and flipping it off the glass is Joe Pratt.
Pass from the baseline from Lerner set all that up.
Salt Fork with its first lead of the game.
Whenever you're double teamed, you got to be looking for the open man. And Joel's a very unselfish player. See how the ball is swinging from side to side, which gives Maddie a chance to post his man. And he doesn't do a lot of moving, but the ball moves and they bring it to him.
There's Maddie now with it. Works his way in. Tried to muscle a shot up, couldn't get it to go.
The size of Keenan's given Maddie a lot of problems. He's not able to just square up and shoot it. He's going to have to use his body, which he's very good at.
Anderson's going to fire up a three again. That's off the shot clock.
He is
out of bounds.
He is not bashful, and he hits most of them.
Josh Chandler has come back in. He'll replace Nathan Fathour for Salt Fork. .80 seconds to go here in this opening quarter of the state championship game. Small school boys basketball class 1A. Here's Gibson working baseline and scoring.
Nice penetration again by Eubanks and finding the open cutter.
Kendall Gibson, 6'4", 205 senior. He's the quarterback of the football team.
He's really got his hands full on the defensive end too. He's been doing a really good job on Lerner so far.
Now he's bodying up with Anderson. There's going to be a foul. It's going to go against Gibson.
Any defensive scheme has got to be able to take care of the baseline and not allow people to drive baseline. We've seen that attempted several times today, but the kids are doing a good job of shutting off baseline for the most part.
Right off the inbounds, Keenan. Be interesting to see if the Red Devils are content with holding for a final shot here of the quarter. I guess not. When it's in the hands of Eubanks. You know, open look, couldn't get it. High up to get the defensive rebound is Joe Pratt.
It's the one Eubanks wanted.
So Jake Manning in the game for the first time.
Every coach has their own philosophy of what they want to do at the end of the quarter. And if you've got a good shooter with an opportunity to shoot in the first quarter, I'm sure you let him go ahead and take it.
Pratt left open, 17-footer is short. Offensive rebound, takes it to the rack, puts it in.
Real good finish.
Right at the horn.
His own rebound.
Salt Fork 8, Sesser-Valier 6. Back with second quarter action for the state championship game after these messages and a word from our local stations.
Hey, we're here with the Sesser-Valier crowd. Getting jiggy with it, guys. Who would have thought it? Unranked, didn't even get any votes at state in the polls, but here you are, Reggie. Hey, I'm an honorary captain. Good job, Reggie. Tell everybody, hey. Everybody, number one. Hey, this is the way we roll down here, guys. Back over to you.
Well, certainly it's impressive that Sesser-Valier, unranked, would get to the state championship game. Perhaps more impressive that Lee Hall could survive that crowd.
and the fact that they weren't even ranked to win their regional, that's just an amazing run. Kids, the seniors have put it together at the right time.
Yeah, they were the second seeded team in the regional. And after losing 4 games in the middle of the season, 4 in a row and 5 out of 6, there were some serious skeptics whether or not Sesser-Valier would make it through regionals, and they find themselves playing for a state championship. Here's Justin Maddie down low. Again in traffic, Keenan got a hand on it, and we got a foul. It's going to go against David Keenan. Let's take a look at those first quarter stats brought to you by Menards. Save big money at Menards.
First quarter stats were pretty even. The shooting percentages were pretty even. Score was even. The way the quarter closed gave Salt Fork just a little bit of an advantage going into this quarter. And then starting this quarter, SV ended up doing a nice job of pressuring on the inbounds pass at half court, and got a turnover. Good start to the quarter for SV.
Maddie makes the free throws, and we're even at 8. We mentioned the 4-game losing streak that the Red Devils had in late January. They turned things around and gone 12-2 since then, peaking certainly at the right time of the season. That's Manning. Gives it up now to Chandler. Fat Hours back in the game. That's him with the basketball. Chandler from the outside. Maddie the rebound.
I'm not sure that's the shot coach wanted, but he was open. I think another reason SV has turned it on is it took a little while with the first-year coach to figure out what they wanted to do, what their strengths were. And I think Chip Bassett has done a great job toward the end of the season of having his kids ready to play for the tournament. So he should get a lot of credit for this run.
Well, he knew he was going to have a veteran team. They have more seniors here than anybody else at State. So he beefed up that schedule, and it's paid off in the long run. There's an outside jumper in for Jake Manning.
Much better ball movement by Sauk Fork right now. That's really hard to say for a coach.
Here's Tinsley. It's going to be Eubanks again. Catch and shoot the 3. He's 0 for his first 2 from three-point land. But Gibson, the offensive rebound.
Dribble penetration set all that up. The shot and the second shot.
Well, Gibson made the comment after scoring 14 points in the super sectional win that his team is not a one-trick pony, meaning it was not just all about Justin Maddie, and he's come to play today. He's normally the defensive stopper, but a couple of field goals, and we're even again at 10. Gibson was 6 of his team's 10. Leonard really never had his squared up body on that one, put up the shot and missed it.
Salt Fork seems to be settling for shots right now. Settling rather than allowing their offense to create openings for them. Not a give and take game, but it's very physical under the basket right now. They're trying to control both post players, and they're doing it with their bodies, and they're doing it legally. But both coaches are pretty upset about the contact inside right now.
Well, when you've got the post play that we're going to have here this afternoon with Joel Lerner and Ryan Anderson, who can certainly step out for the Storm, and Justin Maddie, obviously, for Sesser-Valier. This is going to be some really banging going on inside.
Great play by Pratt from behind, just never giving up on it. Good penetration, dribble in the score.
David Keenan, the recipient of a nice pass.
Keenan has really made a difference in this quarter.
Four points now for Keenan off the Salt Fork bench.
Where he's made his most difference, I think, is on the defensive end. Really made it hard for Maddie to operate in there like he likes to.
Yeah, no question about it. Guarding Maddie there, and he forced a turnover on the deal.
They're also helping. Once Maddie puts it on the floor, they're getting double team help, and that's putting him in a difficult situation. He's got to do less rather than more when there's the double teams coming. He needs to turn square and just do his drop step basket.
Keenan again.
One sweet shot right there. Kareem would have been proud of that one, if anybody remembers who he was.
We remember. 4-point Salt Fork lead. Eubanks left open, still looking for his first field goal.
Now, for SV, this is a big defensive possession. Salt Fork's on a little bit of a roll. They need to hunker down and force a bad shot.
Joel Lerner there.
Notice how many red shirts there were around him, too.
No question.
3.
Offensive rebound. And Josh Chandler shoots it in.
Chandler's got good hops and good spring. You can just see he's got a certain bounce. He didn't really have much bounce yesterday because he got in foul trouble early. But he brings a lot of energy to the team on both ends of the floor.
Joel Lerner and Ryan Anderson, the 1-2 punch for Salt Fork, are scoreless right now, Cal, but their team has a 6-point advantage.
They've done a nice job of taking Maddie out of the game, but he's going to find a way,
There
just
he
like
is.
that.
Yep.
He came out to the free throw line to get the ball facing the basket, took one dribble and got a good look at it. Great players find a way.
4 points for Maddie, the first team All-Stater. This is Fat Hour. Now Keenan catch and shoot.
In a little bit too big a hurry, but the high-low is open.
Sesser-Valier with numbers. Tinsley takes it to the hole, but it's off of him and out of bounds.
Good strip. Good strip. Fat Hour again. Made the defensive play.
Timeout on the floor. Salt Fork, a 4-point advantage. Back with more from the state tournament after these messages and a word from your local stations.
And we are back at Carver Arena, and we are in the front row thanks to the National Association of Realtors. Our NAR move of the game. Tim Eubanks is here along with Debbie Malkovich. This is TJ's dad, and well, you lucked out here, didn't you?
Very, very much so. We're just happy to be here. We didn't know it was going to be this great, and now here we are in the championship game.
Yeah, Grandma, these guys just had a tough year. Now here they are playing for a state championship. You guys must have had some serious ups and downs.
Yes, but this has been a dream for me since he's been 5, and we made it.
All right, well, good luck and enjoy your view thanks to NAR. All right, back over to you guys.
Crashing the offensive glass, Salt Fork. 3 looks at it that time. Ball is still loose. Lerner comes away with it, and he shoots it in. How about Joe Lerner?
Unbelievable. Just never gave up on it and threw it in from his back. That was a great effort.
After 3 offensive rebounds. First points of the afternoon for the second team All-Stater.
SV needs to calm down, get a good offensive possession here. We're starting to bring Maddie out away from the basket. You bring a post player out, let him swing the ball, then you can get him back in and get him in a better low post position. Whereas if he just stays down low, he doesn't have as good an opportunity.
And a steal on the inbounds, quick hands.
Lerner again on a real good read defensively.
Salt Fork comes in on a 26-game winning streak. Offensive rebound by Fat Hour. Reload the offense. Their last loss was in early December to Champaign St. Thomas More. They gave up 74 points in that game. Aaron Hurd said it was a real wake-up call because they didn't play their style in that game. They got rocked in it. And they've taken that sore feeling all the way to the state championship game.
It's a flop, nothing. Good no call.
Eubanks, 3. Had a rough go of it here in the opening half. That's Dane Eubanks. Now it's Gibson at the top.
Pick and roll from the top.
Gets a screen with Maddie. Had the ball stripped. Maddie picks up the loose ball, shoots it short and wide. We're going to see Curtis Edwards come in for Sesser-Valier. He's checked in at the scorer's table. A couple of fresh bodies coming in for Salt Fork as well.
I don't know if Maddie's coming out, but he really looks winded today.
That's him on the defensive backboard. 6-point Salt Fork leads Sesser-Valier with a basketball. Class 1A boys basketball state title game. There's Maddie with a little hook shot. That's no good, cleared by Lerner. He's got 6 rebounds already now, does Joe Lerner.
Been a very quickly, fast-played game to this point.
Aaron Hurd is screaming for a timeout. The Salt Fork coach is going to get it.
Just when he got it in the low post.
Timing is everything.
Now you got to give it to me, he says.
53 seconds to go here in this opening half. You mentioned that it's been a fast half. They've only had 3 fouls called against South Fork and 1 foul against Sesser-Valier. How about our National Association of Realtor trivia question? In the 1950 title game between Mount Vernon and Danville, what was the record number of field goals taken? Was it 90, 85, or 80?
I don't know, but that's hard to believe, but that was even before my time.
1950 title game. We'll have the answer to our NAR question here in a minute. Well, it's certainly been a storm warning. They've brought the fans from the eastern side of the state and the Red Devil fans from the southern side of the state. They've packed in their cars and come to Peoria. Great fan representation for both these teams.
Well, you're seeing a defensive dominated game. Both teams are trying to take the strengths of the other team away. Learned has been controlled, and Maddie has been controlled. And now the other players are going to have to step up and show patience and only do what they can do.
All right, you've had time to think about it. How about the answer to our NAR trivia question? 1950 title game between Mount Vernon and Danville. What was the record number of field goals taken in the game? The answer is 80.
I'm not taking a guess. They obviously didn't have a shot clock it in, but they sure like to shoot it.
Thanks to the folks at NAR for sponsoring today's trivia.
That's a lot of goals.
That's a lot of shooting.
That's a good month for you, High.
And a steal off the inbounds. So Sesser-Valier comes away with it. Good stop down there. Now Tinsley spins and attacks, and he's fouled.
Good defensive play at the other end. You can see the ball. Oh, we're replaying Tinsley. He goes to the basket. Again, a reach to get the stop. Good dribble penetration. Tinsley's clever with the ball. He gets some good spots.
There's Eubanks, slipped it underneath. Ball is out of bounds. Boy, right in the hands of Curtis Edwards.
Great feed. Maddie's out right now. Curtis Edwards wasn't quite ready for the shot. Ready for the pass anyway.
Lerner's going to come back in the game. He'll send Josh Chandler to the bench with 38 seconds to go in the half.
I really like the way Coach Hurd rotates his players to give them just a couple minutes rest. Doesn't keep good players off the floor very long, but he just keeps them fresh.
Lerner trailing the play. All the way down, put it up with the left hand and score it.
Very nice move. Very much under control. Ball fake from the outside, set it up.
After a scoreless opening quarter, he has 4 in the second quarter now. His team has an 8-point lead. Final seconds here of the half. Dane Eubanks, his shot is no good, and it's corralled by Salt Fork. Now in the final 10 seconds, can they get a shot? 4 to shoot. Deep 3, Anderson, no good. Offensive rebound, that won't go. Jake Manning had a good look but couldn't capitalize, and we are done with the first 2 periods of play. Salt Fork with an 8-point halftime lead, 20-12.
The way both teams finish quarters is significant to the score right now.
Lee Hall is standing by with Aaron Hurd.
All right, Kurt, thank you very much. Coach, when your guys have been able to penetrate that Sesser-Valier defense and get it into the lane, you guys have done a good job of scoring.
Yeah, and that's not typically something we do a lot of, but they've taken away one aspect of our offense, and so I think our kids are doing a good job of finding what is there.
Yeah, and this is the kind of game it looks like so far anyway. Learned and Maddie, the 2 stars, have kind of been taken out of things a little bit on both sides, and the other guys are having to step up.
I think in many ways they both look tired right now. They both played very good games yesterday, and I think they both look a step slow.
All right, well, good luck to you second half, Coach.
Thanks a lot.
All right, that's the story here. It's 20-12 Salt Fork. We're back after this on the IHSA TV network. Back at Carver Arena, our halftime stats brought to us by Menards. Save big money at Menards. Roger Lowe, you thought early in the game that these teams came out a little tight. The shooting percentages would verify that.
Yeah, I think you make a real good point. I think it's the tightness there that's caused this shooting, and neither team's shooting the ball very well, pretty well even with the rebounds, so I think both teams think they can play better in the second half.
Salt Fork able to put together a little run there toward the end of the half to take an 8-point lead into the locker room. 10 points off turnovers for the Storm, and they lead the points in the paint battle as well.
So the points off the turnovers is what's got them the lead. They're up 8 points at half, and this is what Sesser-Valier's going to have to do a little bit better job of taking care of the ball.
Here's a look at the scoring leaders. Gibson with 6, Maddie with just 4 for Sesser-Valier, and you look at Salt Fork, Keenan with 6, Pratt and Learnard with 4 each. So we talked to Coach on the way out about the 2 main guys, Maddie and Learnard, not really being in the scoring mix, and both teams had some success keeping them out of the mix.
I've got a couple of players as my player of the games right now, Lee. I tell you, Kendall Gibson has held Learnard to 0 baskets. Now, Learnard's got 2 baskets. He's got 1 on a rebound and 1 off a fast break. So Kendall Gibson, as well as scoring 6 points, has held Learnard without a basket. And on the other side, David Keenan has gotten 6 points and has held Maddie to just 1 basket. So those 2 guys especially are going to get my gold star today. I also want to give props to TJ Eubanks holding Anderson scoreless. So TJ's not only a good shooter, but has played great defense in the first half.
Yeah, he was able to hit some threes yesterday. So far, neither team has hit a three. They're combined 0 for 12 here in the first half. We're back with more from Carver Arena after this local timeout. It's Salt Fork, the 8-point lead.
Halftime of the 1A state championship game, Salt Fork 20, Sesser-Valier 12. Kurt Pegler, Cal Hubbard, the former U-High head coach with you. Let's take a look at some of the highlights which shaped the first half of action as we get you set for the second half of play.
We're going to see some highlights here with the dribble penetration, which Eubanks is very good at. We're also going to see a cross-court pass with Fat Hour taking the ball to the basket on the baseline. Again, skip pass over the top for a penetration by Pratt. And then a real good rebound and move by Kendall Gibson, who also had a really good defensive half. Second shot rebound, I believe that was Chandler. And then we see a nice put it on the floor, take it to the basket on Leonard, who had a tough first half because they're doing the defensive job on both Leonard and Maddie, and the teams. It's been a defensive struggle this half.
We'll see what
they're going to have to make some adjustments.
Exactly. We'll see what kind of adjustments are made here at the half. 8-point Salt Fork lead. Back with the third quarter in minutes after these network messages. Time now for our Subway sub of the first half. David Keenan, number 34.
No doubt about that.
For Salt Fork, off the bench, 6 big points. He got his hand in a couple of blocks. He was a big factor in that first half. David Keenan of Salt Fork, our Subway sub of the first half. Get any regular footlong for $5 at Subway. Eat fresh.
He was significant in the way he was able to change Maddie's game because of his size and his strength. Maddie had to move away from the basket where he's not quite as effective. So it'll be interesting to see how the coaches make adjustments. It is a defensive struggle. It's still an 8-point game. Anything can happen, but both teams need to get into their offensive flow a little better. I do think that it was more than just tightness. I think the defense had a lot to do with it. I don't think it's just championship game tightness. I think that always in the championship game, defense dictates what's going to happen. And you see it here again tonight.
And we remind you that there's more basketball to come tonight over the lines of the IHSA television network. 2A state champ to be decided. At 6:30, it's Hales Franciscan out of Chicago against Bree Central for third place, followed by the state title game. Myers Leonard, the University of Illinois recruit, leads Robinson against the hometown team, the Rams of Peoria Manual. They're scheduled to tip off about 8:15. We have 16 minutes of basketball left in the Class A boys basketball season.
SV needs a real good 3 minutes of basketball here to establish himself in this half. This is a real important 3 minutes for them, especially with the slower pace of the game.
Sesser-Valier opens the second half with the basketball. There's Maddie with a quick shot. That's no good.
Wasn't a good shot. Just a little frustrated. Shot the first time he touched it.
Both teams starting the second half with their original starting fives. Dane Eubanks, Miles Tinsley, Kendall Gibson, TJ Eubanks, Justin Maddie for Sesser-Valier, Joe Leonard, Ryan Anderson, Nathan Fathour, Josh Chandler, Joe Pratt, the 5 on the floor right now for Salt Fork. That's Leonard.
Double team on the ball. Anytime Leonard gets the ball, there's a double team.
Fathour guarded by Eubanks.
Both teams are excellent defensive squads and well-schooled.
Nice pass down to Leonard, and he scores. Joe Pratt the assist.
Good flash from the weak side by Lerner and an excellent pass by Pratt. Good timing.
First double-digit lead of the game. It's a 10-point advantage, and now a steal. Anderson working on Tinsley, and he flipped it up. He missed the shot. Give credit to Tinsley for coming back. Now it's Eubanks from the baseline. That's missed.
Trying to pick up the tempo.
That's Chandler with it. Leonard flashes, gives it back to Chandler, and he walked.
Good job of inside rotation there by Salt Fork. They brought Lerner back to the high post, and they rolled, I believe it was Anderson, to the low post. Just mishandled the ball.
Spinning Gibson, missing.
Good challenge by Anderson. Excellent challenge.
Well, you're right about the defensive end. Both these teams really sink their teeth into it.
Yeah, they really are. They're really well schooled fundamentally. You can see that they're aware of the dribbler. They're aware of the ball all the time. But they also are aware of weak side cutters. They're checking them as they're coming through the lane.
Sometimes you look past the fact that a guy like TJ Eubanks scoreless in the opening half, missing those three-point shots, but he's doing a number defensively on Anderson. Fat Hour left open, 17-footer is missed. There's Eubanks on the defensive backboard. It's his cousin Dane with it now. In transition. Filling the lane is Maddie, and he's blocked but a foul.
Defensive play. Just an outstanding defensive play. You'll see Maddie had an easy basket, and Chandler came up over the outside shoulder and just made a great block. Both teams are taking away the strength of the other team's offense, and you're going to see other players that are going to have to step up and try to do things they don't normally have to do. So it'll be interesting to see how this all unfolds. A little game of little chess game here on the course. On the course.
Yeah.
On the court, I believe.
Maddie is an interesting character. He really just started playing competitive basketball in the 8th grade. He's an avid outdoorsman and was spending most of his time out hunting and fishing, and he's turned to, in 5 years, he's gone from a guy who just picked up a basketball to a first-team All-Stater.
Yeah, he's had a very impressive year.
Anderson lost it. But a turnover right back. Fat Hour goes back and gets the loose ball.
Fat Hour is in the right place at the right time so often.
Solid player, the floor leader for the #1 ranked team in the state, the Storm of Salt Fork. There's Chandler. Loose ball, gets it back, flips it up off the glass, can't get it. Another offensive rebound. Chandler's fouled.
See the replay right here. Chandler takes the ball to the basket and draws the foul. He's got good springs in his leg. Just made a defensive play at one end. It was a foul, and coming back to the other end and getting in the fray. I think wherever there's a fray, that's where he is.
And really working hard today offensively to make a difference. He is the team's defensive stopper, and in the last 3 games he's guarded, get this, Macon Meridian's Trent Swigart, Jeff Todd of Peoria Heights, and Tony Dunlap of Lanark Eastland. So you're talking about 3 guys with scoring averages in the double figures, and he's had to guard each one of those guys.
And he's done a good job on them. Very good job on them. He did a great job on Dunlap yesterday until he got in foul trouble.
Here's Eubanks. The 3, it finally bangs in. His first of the game.
Shot that off the break, sideline break. He was standing waiting for it. Coach Hurd's pretty upset that his kids didn't recognize it, but it was a very good stroke.
Missed his first 5 threes of the game, but knocked down that one. First points of the afternoon. We're under 5 minutes to go in this 3rd quarter. Nice feed down to Lerner. Pump fake, draws contact. The foul's going to go against Kendall Gibson.
I like the way the guards from Salt Fork are doing a nice job of not taking shots that are available and waiting until they're able to swing the ball. And you see the pass right here to Lerner inside, and he draws the foul. And it all happened because the guard passed up the shot, dribble penetration, and got the ball to Joel.
We documented his story yesterday, Leonard. He was the team's 6th man as a freshman, had season-ending knee injury at regional time as a freshman. He had surgery to repair a hole in his heart at the age of 8, ironically right here in Peoria. And his family secretly thought, wouldn't it be great if he had a chance to come back in high school to play here for a state championship, and that's what's going on. And his team has a 25-17 3rd quarter lead. Back with more after this local timeout.
Tell you what, I have got a fantastic group of seniors. I got 4 kids. They get along well with each other, get along well with their teammates. I'm so happy for this group of kids.
Aaron Hurd talking about Josh Chandler, Joe Pratt, Ryan McCord, Jake Manning, but he was kind of chewing his team out in the last
He wasn't that happy with them in the huddle, but he was trying to get them to play better transition defense and recognize where the shots are coming from on the break. He was very upset about the 3 being shot with no contest. And he also brought some pressure in the full court.
Here's Eubanks, and he's fouled from behind by Chandler.
Knocked the ball away, but he had his hand on it. Hand checks will always be called.
Actually,
I had it wrong.
Yep, I'm sorry. They're going to give that one to David Keenan. I thought the same thing, that it was going to be on
I saw
Chandler.
the other one. From the bench, it looked different.
It always does from over here, doesn't it?
Right. That doesn't mean we can't yell about it, though.
Now, the Red Devils also have some great seniors. Aaron Hurd talking about his group of seniors, but where the Red Devils have been a senior-laden team. Eubanks, Tinsley, Cody Pitchford, who's a bench player, Kendall Gibson, Chad Donovan off the bench, TJ Eubanks, Justin Maddie, all seniors, all the heart and soul of this team, getting their team to the first ever state tournament.
Shot selection there was they chose to do a 3, and Maddie finally had a post up with the man to his basket. One more pass would have made a big difference.
Swing it to the near side. Now it's inside to Lerner. He's double teamed and a kick out. Pratt left open. He's going to fire it up and knock it in.
I love
the way
I love the way Lerner flashes across the lane, brings attention, catches it, and then kicks it back out. That inside-outside.
Just his 9th three-point make of the season. He's a 19% shooter from beyond the arc, but picked a great time to knock down that triple. His team now has a 28-17 advantage.
Real good closing defense.
Chip Basso called timeout because Dan Eubanks was in a world of hurt. He had lost the dribble and he was pinned in the corner.
South Fork has really picked up their defensive effort. They're doing a good job of pinching and stopping the dribble penetration.
Apple's Bakery in Peoria serves breakfast and lunch, breakfast wraps, homemade soups. On Wednesday, St. Patrick's Day, they'll be serving corned beef. Bakery goods delivered anywhere to your door. applesbakery.com. 3:40 to go here in the third quarter of the championship game here, Class 1A state championship game. And it's Salt Fork 28, Sesser-Valier 17. Kurt Pegler, along with Cal Hubbard, the former Normal U High head coach. Our sideline reporter is Lee Hall, and our wonderful crew here with the IHSA television network. We've got 2A boys basketball coming your way tonight, but we still have 11.5 minutes to play here. Neither of these two teams have ever played in the state championship game before, and you got to believe early on jitters were a factor. Maybe not now.
Yeah, they were a factor early. It always is there early, but right now it's just a basketball game. And SV is fighting like crazy to stay in this basketball game. They need to make good decisions on the offensive end. Defensively, I think they're doing some really good things. But the movement, the offensive movement by Salt Fork has started to open things up for them. We don't have quite as good a ball movement for SV yet, and shot selection. So this next couple of minutes is pretty crucial to SV getting back in this basketball game.
You know, Sesser-Valier, 25% from the floor at 6 out of 24. So far, just 17 points. This is Tinsley. Now Maddie. He's going to try a 3. That's short. Maddie's just attempted 10 three-pointers on the season. Here's Pratt. He's going to try again from the outside. Miss it. Rebound cleared by Dan Eubanks. Eubanks foul.
Defensively right now, we see some interesting changes. We've had ourselves some substitutions, and you see some defensive breakdowns. Right now, all you see is him splitting the double team, getting tripped up, drawing the foul. It's painful though.
Ryan Anderson is going to come in for Salt Fork and send Josh Chandler back to the bench. Anderson with the huge game yesterday. 17 points and 6 rebounds, scoreless
Very
today,
good.
and he just picked up the foul right there.
Very good out-of-bounds play. Picked for the picker, had a layup, and drew the foul. You'll see inside where the picker's getting picked, and he just came into the basketball game, so it's a real good call. And Coach Hurd is very much a defensive coach. He sees all the defensive mistakes.
That's the first foul against Anderson. Gibson, we mentioned the quarterback of the football team. In fact, he's the career passing leader in school history. He's going to likely play some college football someplace. Got a couple of looks, and he's trying to decide where he wants to go play some college football. This is Keenan back in the game. He had a really nice first half for Salt Fork off the bench. Pratt penetrating, slips the ball in. Nice pass and nice finish by Jake Manning.
Jake Manning did a great job of protecting it, using his body to protect the ball. And I think SV was running a little bit of half-court trap there, too.
4 points for Manning. I'm sorry, Coach, 4 points for Manning. The 2:29 mark. And now Lerner's going to come back in the game. He was out just for a quick breather.
Yeah. He never stays out very long. He keeps all his, right here at the end of the third quarter, he always gets all his kids just a little bit of a blow.
Kendall Gibson faked the handoff like it was a football play and hurt the baseline.
Exactly what it was. Very clever, and a defensive mistake on the assignment by Salt Fork.
Looked like a play-action fake, and now a steal by Gibson. Ahead to Tinsley, and he lays it in. Big sequence for the Red Devils.
Against pressure, you got to make sure you slow down and you meet your passes. They didn't do it that time. It was really good full-court press by SV, and they're really in trouble.
Keenan is left open, works baseline, and works the paint, can't get it. Offensive rebound by Lerner, and he's fouled.
One thing the press does, it does open you up, make you vulnerable at the basket. That time, Pratt was able to get the dribble out of the double team, pass the ball up the side, ends up being an easy look for Keenan, and a rebound basket for Lerner. I guess a rebound basket attempt.
You talk about multiple sport athletes. Joel Lerner is getting Division I interest in baseball, solid baseball player.
I understand he's a pitcher.
Those lefties, boy, if you can pitch, you can get the ball over the plate. You have yourself a nice advantage.
I love left-handed basketball players too. I had a son that was a left-hander, and I thought he had an advantage in the post. I also had, on the first team I coached, I had 2 left-handers that were very good players. I had them in baseball, but I think it just gives you an advantage.
Under 2 minutes left here in this third quarter. The state championship game here in Peoria. Offensive foul is going to go against Dane Eubanks of Sesser-Valier.
Just a little out of control as he takes it in. He trips a little bit. Good position by Pratt. Excellent position, chest up. Took it.
Boy, as Joe Pratt made some big plays here in this third quarter. Made a big three-pointer and now draws the foul on Eubanks. Lerner puts it on the floor, had it stripped. Ball is still loose. He tries to dive in there and get it. Alternate possession. The possession arrow favors Salt Fork.
You'll see Sesser-Valier is doing a great job when the ball's on the floor of doubling and knocking the ball loose. Nobody has any room to dribble in there. They've got several people around Lerner all the time. You'd be better off to turn and just shoot or pass than to try to create on the dribble.
Chandler in and Manning out now for the Storm.
Both teams are just doing a great job on the defensive end. They're just playing their hearts out.
Shad Donovan is now in the game also for Sesser-Valier. Big sequence here to close out this third quarter. From the baseline, Lerner get the inbound and knocked it down.
He has the ability to pop out and have a good stroke. And he didn't try to do anything except just shoot the ball at time.
And now answering on the other end is Justin Maddie.
Extremely good penetration again by Eubanks.
Fathour lost the dribble. He's being hounded by Gibson. He's looking for help. Salt Fork calls timeout.
The pressure is really bothering Salt Fork. They're having a lot of trouble against the zone pressure that's been brought out.
That last basket, by the way, for Joel Lerner gave him 11 points. That's now 31 of his team's 34 games in which he's scored in double figures.
This copyrighted broadcast is presented for the exclusive entertainment and non-commercial use of our audience. Any reproduction, rebroadcast, or other use of this program without the express written consent of the Illinois High School Association and cost broadcast sales is strictly prohibited.
1 minute, 3 seconds to go, third quarter of this Class A Boys Basketball State Championship game. The Winnebago High School Pep Band is providing the background music for this championship game, with Salt Fork leading Sesser-Valier 33-25.
Sesser-Valier has felt like they needed to bring the pressure, and they're doing a good job of putting Salt Fork in high-risk areas, and their guards are trying to dribble against the zone pressure instead of looking for open people and flashing open areas. So right now, Coach Hurd's going to have to make some adjustment in his full-court press offense to be able to better counterattack the defense that's been thrown at him. Coach Basso's done a good job of changing his defenses up in the full court, and he's also had a half-court trap at one time. So he's trying anything he can to get back in this ball game. It's an 8-point game, and anything can happen.
Both these teams, again, playing in their first ever state championship game. Salt Fork is the co-op of Catlin and Seidel. And they come from Vermilion County on the eastern side of the state. Sesser-Valier coming from the southern side of the state, playing in their first ever state championship game. Here's Lerner, and he's fouled.
That was a call from the bench. He called baseline. It looked like it was a backdoor clear out. And since that wasn't open, Lerner put the ball on the floor and drew the foul.
Kendall Gibson leaves in favor of TJ Eubanks for the final 50 seconds of this third quarter. Lerner lost the dribble, looking for help. He's double teamed. He flipped it up. Can't get an offensive rebound, though. Salt Fork crashing the glass. The ball is still loose. It's Pratt who comes away with it. He can't finish. Another look for Lerner. And he's knocked into the baseline there.
He almost took a camera out. Just, what great effort inside. Chandler got the ball. He couldn't take it back up because he got hit in the face. Then Lerner got the ball and somehow got the ball up to the basket. I think that was a shooting foul, the last one.
Now they're going to say it was not in the act of shooting.
No way. He went up and got tackled.
That's 16 fouls now on Sesser-Valier. And how about the inbounds to a cutting David Keenan, who scores?
Using Lerner as a decoy, ball fake, and it was a really good out-of-bounds easy basket.
What a game for David Keenan off the bench. 4 out of 8 from the floor, 8 points. Significant minutes for the sophomore.
He's definitely been a difference maker on both ends of the floor.
10-point Salt Fork lead, final seconds, third quarter of the championship game. Five to shoot. Maddie from distance, no good. Rebound by Anderson. That's going to end the quarter. And with 8 minutes to go in the state championship game, Salt Fork has a 10-point lead. Back with the fourth quarter in a minute after you hear from our network sponsors. Time to look at our statistics through 3 quarters, brought to you by Menards. Save big money at Menards.
You can see that the field goal percentage is very poor for both teams. That's all because of, in my opinion, the defensive pressure that both teams are putting on and the adjustments they're making. You can see the free throw shooting is really not a factor right now. It could be because both teams are getting close to the bonus, or at least Salt Fork is. The three-point shots are non-existent. In a game like this, you don't get a lot of opportunities. And the rebounds, Salt Fork has been controlling the glass, especially in this third quarter, and that's made a difference. It's a 10-point lead and a low-scoring game, so something's got to happen for SB quickly.
Send it down to our sideline reporter, Lee Hall.
All right, guys, Aaron Hurd in his huddle just reminding his team that they're letting them play a little bit to be strong with the ball, that you got to handle the pressure here the last 8 minutes. The other thing he told his team to look out for, Maddie hasn't really done much for Sesser-Valier. He said, if I'm that other coach, I'm telling 30 that he's going to own this fourth quarter. So they're going to look to defend him just as well as they have so far, guys.
Kendall Gibson opens the fourth quarter with a runner in the lane. He's played very well. Give him 12 points. He leads his team in scoring.
It's a good comment by Lee. I'm sure that Maddie's going to be touching the ball right now.
He's got 8 minutes left in his high school basketball career.
It's called Dance with the One That Brung You.
Lerner fadeaway. And a foul.
Good position that time by Miles Tinsley. Pratt went over his back.
First foul on Pratt, 5th on the team.
good start for Sesser-Valier this quarter. Already scored a basket on the break and have a possession. Need to have a good offensive possession to get the ball in Maddie's hands at some point during it. No quick shots.
Ball was kicked that time by Learned, and we're going to see Josh Chandler re-enter the game. Let's see, he's going to go in there and get Anderson.
That was an interesting possession. They brought Maddie to the high post, and they posted up Kendall Gibson in the low post, which he's very capable. Nice way to relieve some of the pressure on Maddie. Good back cut.
Good hands and a steal. Learned comes away with it. It was Pratt that poked his hand in there.
It was mishandled. The play was there. Real good read.
And now a return steal. Gibson again in the middle of everything. Now it's Tinsley one-on-one with Fathour. This is Gibson attacking from the right. Flipped it off the glass and in.
Gibson is really making a difference in this game on both ends of the floor. Done a great job defensively, and offensively he's picking up the slack.
He averages just a tick under 8 points per game, and he's exploded for 14 here.
This zone pressure is really causing problems for Salt Fork. Whenever it's come on, it's usually after a basket. They're having trouble getting the ball over half court and finding open people. Salt Fork is now shooting the bonus throws, so that's a big advantage if you make them. However, Pratt is a 40% free throw shooter from the line. Keenan has just come out of the game, and I'm sure it's for ball handling purposes.
Pratt is a 3-year starter and the career leader in assists and steals. He had 130 assists this season coming into the game. Rattles home the first one. It was interesting, I thought, that Aaron Hurd, the head coach, said that Pratt has put his ego aside for the betterment of the team, is what he told us on Thursday.
Yes. I think all their guards have. I think their guards have done a great job of knowing the strengths of the team.
Made one, missed one. Maddie goes and chases down the loose ball. 7-point Salt Fork advantage.
Good job by Chandler of stopping the ball as it's coming up the floor.
Dane Eubanks flipped
Good
it up.
penetration.
And a 3-point opportunity.
There just aren't many high school kids can finish that play. He just showed so much strength to finish it. But again, on the defensive end, you can see there's a lot of reaching going on, not anybody moving their feet. But it is a great play by Eubanks.
Terrific effort for the 6'1", 175 senior. Strong move.
And to have a chance to get this game to a 4-point game. They haven't been at 2 possessions for a long time.
He's a young man that suffers from colitis, but he sure looked awfully strong on that play. It's a 5-point Salt Fork lead as we approach the 6-minute mark left in this one. Learned left open. 18-footer is in for 3.
Shot that one some confidence, didn't he? Said, I really want the ball. You cannot give him an open look.
A 40% shooter from beyond the arc. Give him 14 points. His first 3-point make of the game. Gibson tries to answer. That one rattles out. And a foul on the rebound.
It looked good all the way, too, didn't it?
Boy, Fathour, you've sung his praises today, Coach, and I think you're dead on. You look at his stats; they're not flashy. He is just a solid performer.
I love players that it has their worth to the team doesn't have anything to do with stats. It has to do with ball movement, being in the right place, doing what your teammates need. Because I think complementary skills are the most important thing in a team sport, and he has great complementary skills.
He's a leader on the floor, a leader in the classroom, ranked #1 in the junior class, along with his teammates Anderson and Learned. He first cracked the starting lineup as a sophomore. The Salt Fork football team was on a deep playoff run. They didn't have enough bodies, so as a sophomore, Aaron Hurd threw him in. He played so well he couldn't get him out of the lineup. He's never been out of the lineup since. Here's Anderson with a right hand, or I should say Gibson with a right hand.
Throwing the ball back against pressure is not exactly what Coach Hurd wants. Going to make him old before his time. They really look scattered against this zone pressure. You just need to relax, have good possessions. Now you want to go to the strength of your team. Have some patience. Joel Anderson just twisted his ankle. He's all right. Shake it off. It's a state championship game.
We're under 5 minutes to go in this state championship game. Salt Fork with a basketball and a 10-point advantage.
They're in the bonus. As long as the ball's in the good free throw shooter's hands, it's a good thing to do. Run a little time off. That's exactly what they're doing. You don't need to score. You need the clock to run.
Eubanks fouled Fat-Hour at the timeline.
Real good job by Coach Hurd of spreading the floor, taking a little time off the clock, shortening the game.
Nathan Fat-Hour is a 57% free throw shooter, 28 of 49 on the season.
I think Coach Hurd wants to do a little officiating, like most coaches. Don't we all? Whoa.
What an offensive rebound. Joel Lerner, what a huge rebound that is.
That really is.
And now we've got a body down. This is going to be Tinsley right in front of the Salt Fork bench.
I think he got hit right in the stomach on that.
Well, it happened in that loose ball scramble after the rebound. We'll step aside. 4:24 to go here in the state championship game. Salt Fork a 10-point lead. Back after this local timeout. Well, Miles Tinsley was able to get up under his own power and walk over to the Sesser-Valier bench. May have had the wind knocked out of him. Got knocked in the gut, it looked like, and he's going to take a seat on the bench maybe and catch his breath.
There were just a lot of bodies flying on that exchange, but I thought that Joel Leonard came from the weak side on that missed shot and somehow came up with the ball and continued the possession off a missed free throw. It was just really good effort on his part. He's just in the right place at the right time.
A key rebound, the 13th of the game for Leonard to extend this offensive possession. Fat-Hour, he's fouled by Shad Donovan. He's the one that entered the game in place of Tinsley.
I say the official warning the player that he grabbed him from behind, which they did a good job not calling it. He was trying to make the foul. He wasn't going after the basketball, but that's why he's in the ball game right now, is to foul.
There's always this philosophy, Coach, on when do you kind of start attacking the clock as opposed to attacking the basket. And at this point, it looks like Salt Fork is content on running clock.
I don't think you need any more baskets right now. That's my philosophy. And I agree that there is some question, especially it depends on your team more than anything else and what they're able to do. It gives you a chance to just be slow. You don't have to just be deliberate. You don't have to really hold the ball.
Gibson is bumped by Pratt, and so he's going to get to the free throw line.
I think ideally what they'd like to do is to spread the floor, run a little time every time that they've got the ball, and then hit something on the back door, or a cut. Not necessarily all out hole, but look for easy shots. Not taking any of the 18-footers. On the other hand, Sesser-Valier needs to pick up the pressure, foul. They've got some shooters on the floor that are not good free throw shooters for Salt Fork. So I would, when they touch the ball, that's who I'd be fouling. I'd be leaving them open so they could catch the ball. And I think that's what they'll probably try to do if they're going to continue to foul.
What a game for this young man, Kendall Gibson. Scoreless against Madison in the state semis yesterday. A 15-point rebound, or 15-point effort here this afternoon. Now is TJ Eubanks missing the three from the corner.
Fourth quarter, the threes are really hard to shoot, especially in a state championship game where you've played twice.
Tinsley the foul now on Fat-Hour, who's going to be making a living, it looks like, at the free throw line in the final 4 minutes.
Well, I know Coach Hurd's hoping he makes a living. Need to keep your composure on both sides right now. There's still 3:51 left. A lot of game to be played.
Fat-Hour knocks down the first one. Now we're seeing Dane Eubanks come back in the game. He'll send Shad Donovan back to the SV bench.
Of the three guards, Fat-Hour is the best best free throw shooter. Usually when the delay is run, they'll bring Anderson and Lerner out front with Fadauer. So if there is going to be a foul, they'll foul one of those shooters.
Makes them both. Tinsley quickly back up in the front court. Eubanks pump fake, and he's bumped and fouled. That foul's going to go against Josh Chandler.
There is no reason right now to go after any pump fakes, especially if you're Salt Fork, because they're going to have to penetrate and make something happen.
Well, that's the 4th foul now on Josh Chandler. Eubanks, Tinsley, and Gibson each playing with 4 fouls for Sesser-Valier. With TJ Eubanks and Justin Maddie, the 2 scoring threats that we've talked about really for the last 48 hours. 3 for 21 from the floor here in this state championship game. The rest of the team is 9 out of 14.
That's what I mean by Coach Hurd being a defensive coach. He's done a great job on several of the strengths of this team. The 2 kids that had the biggest game yesterday have been shut off today, and that's a credit to him and his players.
Pratt stepped on the baseline, turned it over. And now we have a timeout on the floor. We have a substitution coming in. That's what we have, substitution. 12-point Salt Fork advantage, 3:40 to go here. Plenty of time for SV. This one's not over yet.
In the super sectional, Peoria Heights picked up the pressure and gave Salt Fork a lot of trouble. So it's going to have an excellent defensive play.
Offensive foul. That time it was Nathan Fadauer taking the foul.
Pratt just had the turnover by stepping on the line. He comes back to draw the charge. That's just a lot of character on that kid. That's also the 5th foul.
5 fouls on Gibson. What an effort.
And he's been the best player on the floor for Sesser-Valier today. Had a great game.
And he goes back to the bench after being disqualified with his 5th foul, but not before he scored 15 points.
And did a great defensive job on Joel Learned.
What a big turn of events that is, too. Not only do you turn the basketball over, but one of your best players fouls out.
But even before that, it was turned over and you had an opportunity, and it's just how quickly those things change.
We got a holding foul on Donovan as he was, again, holding Fadauer, and so Fadauer's going to walk back to the foul line.
Keep making good decisions. If you're Salt Fork, keep fouling and putting at the line. If you don't have a good trap opportunity, if you're Sesser-Valier.
Fadauer making good on free throws. Now he's 7 of 8 from the line. We're seeing Josh Chandler check back in and send David Keener to the bench, so you're getting defense for offense there.
This has been a great defensive battle, though. Watching the chess game played, it's just been an outstanding defensive game.
Fadauer now in double figures with 10 points, 8 of them from the foul line. Joel Learned clears. Things are really going the way right now of the Salt Fork Storm. Closing in on their first ever state championship. A foul as Learned comes across half court.
Sesser-Valier has had a great run through this state tournament series. For them to come where they did, and with the letdown over Christmas break to playing the championship game, is just an outstanding effort. I know things kind of fell apart on them, especially in the second half here, but that's their 2nd starter to foul out, and it's the defensive effort that's been put on Justin Maddie by Coach Hurd has just been one for the record books.
So Miles Tinsley leaves the game. He fouls out with a 2.5 rebound effort. And Joel Learned makes good on both of his free throws. 16-point Salt Fork lead. There's Eubanks all the way down and flipped it into the timeout for the Red Devils. So we'll step aside with 3:11 to go. State championship game winding to a close. Back after you hear from our network sponsors. We are winding to a close with the Class 1A Boys Basketball Championship, but we still have a lot of basketball left tonight. 2A consolation game between Hales Franciscan, the top-ranked team in the state in 2A, and Breeze Central. And that sets the stage for the championship game in Class 2A Boys Hoops at 8:15. It's Robinson, led by University of Illinois recruit Myers-Leonard, against Derek Booth and his Peoria Manual Rams, led by first-team All-Stater Lawrence Alexander. And we hope that you're along the lines of the IHSA television network tonight to see those games if you're not in town for them. By the way, if you are in the Central Illinois area, we are told there are still tickets available for tonight's 2A Boys basketball action. And the Salt Fork Storm out in big-time force here, as they are very happy with the way things are going, and they're 3-11 away from a state championship, the first in school history.
Right now, Salt Fork has to take care of the basketball, make their free throws. Sesser-Valier's got to make something happen on the offensive end. They're substituting offense for defense right now so they can afford to give up fouls.
Dane Eubanks now the third Sesser-Valier starter to foul out in this game. The two teams, by the way, have combined for 3 from 20 from beyond the arc. So they haven't exactly lit it up from beyond the arc, but they're getting it done. You mentioned it's just been a defensive battle here. Points have been hard to come by. And you've really got to tip your hat to Salt Fork, the way they have just D'd up. They've taken Justin Matty out of his game.
Traditionally, the legs aren't the same in the championship game because you've played 3 games in 2 days. Now you're only playing 2 games in 2 days, but you're playing 3 games in 4 days with the super sectional, and it does take a lot out of you with the travel and everything else. So I think the legs aren't the same, and you need legs to shoot from 3. And you got to be open.
Nice spinning move by Curtis Edwards in the game now. Hard-nosed player, and he's in the scorebook. Foul on Eubanks on Lerner. Well, if I would have told you before the game, Coach, that Ryan Anderson would go scoreless in the game for Salt Fork, do you think with 3 minutes to go they'd be up 51-37?
That's a surprise, but I thought that Salt Fork did a good job of doing what they can do, and they didn't try to force anything with Lerner, and Joel was very patient. He didn't force his shots. He just kept on taking what was there. He kept passing out of the double team and finding open people, which obviously that's an unselfish move. He's just he's a quality player, and they deserve to have the state championship.
A lot of long faces on that Sesser-Valier bench, but nothing to hang your heads about. A 26-7 record, and second best team in the state of Illinois in the 2009-2010 basketball season. That's going to be an offensive foul against Edwards. Nothing going right now for the Red Devils.
You'll just see the ball into the post. He lowers his shoulder and knocks Pratt down. Pratt's got good defensive position.
Well, it's been a whale of a season, as we mentioned. Sesser-Valier, not even the top-ranked team in the regional in which they played. After that 4-game losing streak in the middle of the season, a lot of doubters, a lot of skeptics, and they've proved them all wrong getting to the state championship game.
Well, after they won the regional, I'm sure if someone said you can have the second-place trophy, they would have been pretty happy with that, especially with the season they'd had up to that point. So I don't think they have very much to hang their head about.
Well, they have represented the Black Diamond Conference very well. Jason Henry, the superintendent, Wes Schote, the principal, and of course the head coach Chip Basso, who's also the athletic director, can be really proud of these young men. 254 students in that Franklin County school, and they're going to be bringing the second-place trophy back home. TJ Eubanks is going to come back in for Curtis Edwards. David Keenan leaves for Salt. Josh Chandler back in the game in the final 2:44. Feeling before this state basketball tournament, there weren't a lot of people that knew about the Salt Fork Storm, even though they were ranked #1 in the state. Just a 1-loss team coming in. But the next couple of minutes, everyone's going to know. They're going to have their name etched in the record books. They're going to know who the Salt Fork Storm is, this co-op between the school districts of Catlin and Jamaica Sidel. They did win a championship in the 8th grade 2007 Catlin team coached by Aaron Hurd. took his team to a 25-0 record and a state championship, and that junior class is the nucleus of this team here this year.
He's going to get used to this, you think? Think this is supposed to happen?
Guys under the age of 30 years old, he's got an IHSA title and an IHSA title. It's just not fair.
I just doesn't seem to be, but he sure earned it. He did a great job today with his players.
Round of applause for Justin Maddie as he goes to the Sesser-Valier bench.
Justin Maddie hadn't had any legs today. He's carried this team through the sectionals and the super sectional, and you just tell he's just exhausted.
Eubanks, the long three, no good. Chase to the corner. The ball is out of bounds. And let's see who they're going to award it to. They're going to give it to Salt Fork.
You'll notice there's still 4 starters on the floor for Salt Fork because Coach Hurd knows this is the state championship. But even starters can make mistakes.
Well, a lot can happen in the final 2:11. There's no doubt about that. Yes. But Salt Fork appears to be in control of this one. They have wanted this to be a pace of a slower and easier game, and they have dictated that. And again, defensively, just doing a number on Justin Maddie and TJ Eubanks. And they've held Sesser-Valier to 37 points, making 40 now on that three-point shot. But it's just been tough sledding offensively for the Red Devils, shooting it at 37.5% here today.
Obviously, the ball is supposed to be in Lerner's hands right now. So
and
when they foul, they foul him. Best free throw shooters on the line.
Well, he's a 72% free throw shooter, and Ryan Anderson is an 80% free throw shooter, so nothing wrong with having those guys handling the basketball in the final 2 minutes. This young man liked and respected by everyone. That's how his head coach described Joel Lerner. And what a testimony that is when your best player is the most respected player on the team and the most, well-liked. Everything tends to fall in place after that, doesn't it?
It sure does. If you have your teammates' respect and the coach's respect, you can get a lot of things done. He's also got a great demeanor on the court. You don't ever see him hang his head. He's always positive, and he's always playing hard.
20-point afternoon now for Joel Lerner. Here's Maddie from the outside. That's no good. Ball is saved aggressively by Edwards. Maddie, the second miss. Now the baseline left. That's Cody Pitchford who's in the game. Not a long rebound. Chandler all the way down. Lays it in.
There was no way he was backing that one out. I don't care what the coaches were saying. His eyes were big.
And now a near steal, and the ball's out of bounds, and it's going to go right back to Salt Fork.
What a great play by Fat Hour again. He's always in the right place.
And Chip Basso now is going to empty his bench out and give some of his reserves an opportunity to play in this state championship game. Standing ovation for the Sesser-Valier crowd as they realize that their starters are coming out of the game.
They've had a great season. It's been a Cinderella kind of season for them. But it's been a pretty good season for Salt Fork as well. Being ranked #1 in the state and to actually back that up and win the state championship, that's pretty good. Pretty impressive.
Here comes the Salt Fork reserves. And the starting 5 for the Storm. 1:08 away from their first state championship. They leave the floor.
Did you know that Joel Lerner could smile? That's the first time I've seen him really smile. That's great to see.
Well, he's been all business here this week. When you take a look at his last 3 games, he had a 29-point game on Tuesday in the Super Sectional, a 20-point game yesterday, and a 20-point game today. And his rebounding totals, Cal, the last 3 games, 12, 12, and 14.
That's just wonderful. He's just a wonderful player. And he's such a good kid on top of it.
And he's going to be back next year.
Yeah.
Boy, as well as Salt Fork has played today, when you take a look at the fact that Lerner is a junior, Ryan Anderson is a junior, Nathan Fathour is a junior, David Keenan, who came off the bench and was solid as a sophomore. A lot of hooping and hollering from the southeast corner of the gym because that's where the Salt Fork Storm fans are seated. And they're 44 seconds away from celebrating the school's first ever state championship.
Well, it's fun to win no matter what year your kids are in school. I can tell you that. It's nice to have a championship.
Reach-in foul. So we could have Drew Doris now going to the free throw line, and we will. Doris is a sophomore, 6'3", 220. Salt Fork lost to Macon Meridian in last year's sectional championship game. Macon Meridian, Dick Blickenserver's team, made it all the way to the championship game and won it. And Aaron Hurd was in the crowd last year and looked out and thought, boy, I wonder how close our team could be to being there. Guess what? They beat Macon Meridian in this year's sectional championship game, pointing to that game all year long. And now they're going to be springboarding that sectional championship win into a state championship.
This is the second year that the state champs had come out of Redbird Arena in the super sectional. Isn't that right? I don't know if it's been more than that, but that's pretty impressive for Central Illinois basketball. Central, Eastern, and Western.
Well, Salt Fork is the first Vermilion County team to make it to state since Danville did it 17 years ago in the big school championships. Danville had a third-place team back in 1993. These boys are going to bring back the big trophy. Tim Witcher at the free throw line, making good from the foul line.
Very nice stroke.
Final 20 seconds of this one. And you can stick a fork in it. Salt Fork is your Class A boys basketball state champion. It was stormy weather the whole year for the Salt Lake Storm. 34 games, 33 wins, and the school's first ever state championship.
See the emotion on both sides is pretty, just a good experience. The pride from both towns, schools, to have a co-op actually win, which gives a lot of the small schools a good opportunity to play at a higher level.
Well, a lot of times there's some heartburn when you have co-ops and communities that aren't necessarily wanting to do that, but 15 years ago, those two communities in Vermilion County formed the Salt Fork Co-op, and now they have a state champion.
Pretty good advertisement.
Lee Hall standing by with our winners.
All right, guys, thanks a lot. Aaron Hurd, boy, it took a while to get that one over, but boy, your guys persevered and really played well, played hard.
It was a long fourth quarter, but made some free throws. My point guard, Nathan Fathour, stepped up, did a great job shooting free throws, kept his composure all night. I'm so proud of him.
Tell me about the guy next to me. I mean, they really keyed on him a lot, double-teamed him almost every time he touched the ball, yet he was able to get the job done for you, Joel Lerner.
You know, it's awful tough to handle him one-on-one. Putting two guys on him, three guys, he's still oftentimes good enough to get it in the hoop.
27 straight wins to get here. Ranked #1, now you're really #1.
Feels great.
Hey, congratulations.
Thanks.
All right, let's go to Joel Lerner, our Country Financial Player of the Game. They were trying to doing a number on you there tonight, but you had to be really patient, didn't you?
Yeah, I did. I had to just get open, try as hard as I can down low, fly as hard as I could, and I was able to. Whenever I wasn't open, I was able to kick it out to an open shooter, and we did a good job of hitting that jump shots in the first half.
27 straight wins. You guys ranked #1. You guys handled all that.
Yeah, it's an awesome feeling. I mean, we didn't win the state championship for just 15 players on our team. We won it for a whole community, and just it feels good to represent Salt Fork and finally put us on the map.
Your dad said it best. When you were in second grade, you had open heart surgery here. It was the darkest day of your life. He said if you win a state championship in Peoria, it's the best day of your life. Would you agree with that?
I agree 100%.
Hey, congratulations, buddy. All right, Joel Lerner, our Country Financial Player of the Game and a state champion, guys.
20 points, 14 rebounds for the workhorse. He got the job done when the chips were down on the line. They really held him in check in the first half, couldn't stop him in the second half.
He didn't force anything. He moved the basketball. He just did a fantastic job. He's a great player and a deserved state champion.
20 points for Lerner, 10 points for Nathan Fathauer for Salt Fork. The leading scorer for Sesser-Valier was Ken Gibson. He had a 15-point, Kendall Gibson with a 15-point effort in a losing cause. And now the trophy ceremony.
At this time, please meet the Red Devils of Sesser-Valier. Second place, a record of 26-10. Their superintendent, Jason Henry. Principal, Wes Choate. Athletic Director and Head Coach, Chip Basso. Athletic Trainer, Don Robbins. Assistant Coach, Shane Garner. Assistant Coach, Brian Lahr. Assistant Coach, Nick Lahr. Manager, Dakota Ellison. And now the Red Devils, number 3, Dane Eubanks. Five, Tim Wichter. Ten, Dustin Hicks. 11, Miles Tinsley. 12, Alan Delbin. 14, Cody Pitchford. 15, Kendall Gibson. 20, Greg Jenkins. 22, Shad Donovan. 25, TJ Eubanks. 30, Justin Maddie. 33, John Vercellino. 34, Kyle Stanley. 42, Curtis Edwards. 44, Dylan Rock. And 45, Drew Doris. The Sesser-Valier Red Devils, second place, 2010 1A boys. At this time, please meet the Storm of Salt Fork Co-op. First place, 1A, with a record of 33-1. Superintendent of Catlin, Gary Lewis. Superintendent and Principal of Jamaica, Mark Janeski. Principal of Catlin, Kevin Thomas. Athletic Director, Troy Hinkle. Head Coach, Aaron Hurd. Assistant Coach, Brian Plotner. Assistant Coach, Lou Hinkle. Statistician, Alec Dutton. Statistician, Macy Scott. And now, the Storm. Number 2, David Sacre. Three, Joel Leonard. 4, Ryan Anderson. 5, Ryan Eisenhower. 10, Connor Plotner. 11, Blake Bodine. 12, Jordan Danzel. 14, Matt Bowen. 15, Nathan Fathour. 22, Josh Chandler. 23, Joe Pratt. 25, Ryan McCord. 31, Ryan Fleur. 33, Jake Manning. 34, David Keenan. Congratulations, Salt Fork Co-op, the Storm, 33-1, first place, 1A Boys 2010. Now will Coach Basso and the captains of the Red Devils step forward to receive the second place trophy. Congratulations. And now will Coach Hurd and the captains of the Storm step forward and receive the state championship trophy 2010. Congratulations to both schools. What a great tournament. What a great weekend here in Peoria. Remember, wherever you're driving next, please buckle up and please drive safely.
The Salt Fork Storm, your Class 1A boys basketball state champion for the 2009-2010 season. We're back to wrap things up from Carver Arena in a minute. This is the IHSA Television Network. Don't forget, we've got more basketball coming tonight on the IHSA Television Network. The Class 2A boys consolation game, Hales Franciscan against Breeze Central at 6:30. Followed at 8:15 by the 2A boys state championship game, Robinson against Peoria Manual, right here over most of these same IHSA television stations. Time now to take a look at our final statistics for this Class 1A boys basketball title game, brought to you by Menards. Save big money at Menards.
Shooting field goals, it wasn't a good shooting day for anyone, but that was because it was dominated by defense. The free throw line was 70% for Salt Fork, and they got to the line a lot more because they were able to be in command of the game. But the turning point in the game came defensively in the first half by limiting Maddie and also Eubanks. And I've always told my players, and I've always believed, that defense wins championships, and I definitely think that's what happened today. Defense won this championship.
And tip your hat to both these schools. First-time state finalists. 3 out of the 4 teams that made it here to Peoria in the Class 1A boys bracket. First-time state finalists. And there you see Kendall Gibson leading SV with 15 points. Joel Lerner, the second-team All-Stater, with 20. Nathan Fathour with 10. And just a balanced effort and a great defensive effort. And that was, as you mentioned, the championship effort came on the defensive end.
They must have some pretty good players on that first team if Joel was a second-team player.
Yeah, that's right, because he certainly did show it.
He really did. So it was a fine tournament, and I think it's great that 3 first-time teams came down today and schools were represented, because that's what the 4-class system does. It opens up an opportunity for more schools.
Salt Fork, your Class 1A boys basketball state champion. We certainly hope you've enjoyed these games as much as we have enjoyed bringing them to you. The executive producer of IHSA Television Network Basketball is Jim O'Boy. Thanks to our producer-director Roger Steele and the great hard-working IHSA TV Network crew. For my partner Cal Hubbard, for Lee Hall, for Roger Lowe, this is Kurt Pegler reporting in Peoria, where the Salt Fork Storm, 33-1, ranked #1, is #1. Good night from Peoria.